Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and Ant-Man and the Wasp hilariously rescaled Marvel's biggest dope into its tiniest accidental Jesus who resurrected and saved us all. The Ant-Man sequel's connections to Avengers Endgame and VFX magic fill it with interesting Easter eggs I was only able to find in this
Infinity Saga Rewatch.
Why haven't I been doing that the whole time? Okay, the film opens with Janet Van Dyne's goodbye to young Hope.
Mommy, jelly bean.
It's going to be so boring. I won't be able to keep my eyes.
Janet's bit here foreshadows her coma-like exile, with her drifting into the quantum realm, a kind of dream that she cannot wake up from. Here she stays fake asleep until Hank wakes her up from the bit.
Janet, we gotta go.
Just like he will awaken her from the quantum realm in the movie's climax. Janet nicknames Hope Jellybean, a parallel to Scott nicknaming his daughter Cassie Peanut. This movie is about Hope's reunion with her mother and her predecessor as the hero Wasp. Scott's role in the movie is to facilitate that reunion, which he does literally as an antenna and spiritually as a past returning parent to Cassie, who, like Hope, will probably take on her parents' legacy as the future hero's stature. We get a glimpse of that future with Scott and Cassie playing heist for the world's greatest grandma trophy, which we later learn is the hiding place for the stolen Ant-Man suit, just like this whole movie is a heist for stolen Pym-Tech. And our man Luis returns.
I'm the boss. I'm the boss. I'm the boss. Yeah.
Calling back Scott's line during the airport battle in Civil War.
I'm the boss, I'm the boss, I'm the boss, I'm the boss.
Those heroics landed Scott under house arrest with check-ins by Jimmy Woo.
Close-up magic.
I learned that. How'd you do it, Scott?
Do what?
The card trick.
Seriously?
As we'll see in Endgame, Scott kinda is Marvel's ace in a hole, vanishing and magically reappearing, and having to explain to everyone how the hell he did it.
You're getting good at that.
How'd you do that?
Scott drums to pass the time. We actually saw him passing the time like this in his cell in Civil War. And his online magic school is taught by real-life magician Michael Carbonaro, who says, "Snap your fingers, that is misdirection." Snaps. So what you did there. Thought we wouldn't notice, but we did. But along that side column are the words micro magic, misdirection, and levitation, which, if you think about it, are all tactics they use to bring down Thanos. Wanda Maximoff levitates him, nearly kills him. Tony gets him with misdirection. What? And all of this was made possible because Scott brought micro magic to this equation. Scott sobs through The Fault in Our Stars. You can actually see from the pages of the book that he's close to the end of it, right around when the saddest stuff happens. Scott also watches a scene from Animal House.
One tiny atom in my fingernail could be
One little tiny universe.
Obviously a parallel to the quantum realm concept as a whole. Also in the final shot, they watch another referencing movie, 1954 giant ant disaster movie, Them, and it's a drive-in. Scott wakes up in Hope's shrunken car and spends the next sequence in his bathrobe. A nod by director Peyton Reed to The Big Lebowski, which actually has gotten referenced with Jeff Bridges and Easter eggs in the first Iron Man and Tony's joke in Endgame.
One side there, Lebowski.
Like The Big Lebowski, Ant-Man and the Wasp is what's called a shaggy dog story, an overcomplicated yarn that humorously but intentionally surrenders to its own complications. In both movies, the hero is a lovable fool with limited personal investment in the plot who gets dragged into this messy scheme while wearing his PJs and is just trying to return to a status quo. The twisty plot of Lebowski ends up being a big misunderstanding. By the end of this movie, we learn practically nothing about Sonny Birch's shady employers, or the real mysteries behind Janet's time in the quantum realm, or the fate of the villain, Ghost. It's all because it's from Scott's point of view, and he doesn't really care about any of that. It's cause Scotty abides. A huge pigeon eye catches him off guard, like the T-Rex eye in Jurassic Park. There's actually another Jurassic Park nod later.
Clever girl. Clever girl.
Scott explains his decision to join Team Cap in Civil War.
The Cap needed help.
Cap?
Captain America, Captain Cap. It's what we call him, if you're a friend.
Later in Endgame, they call back this moment when Hope calls him Cap.
We're on it, Cap.
Hank Pym's suitcase lab is made up of blown up toys and tools so that it'd be functional when it's shrunken. It's powered by a giant Duracell battery. The floors are pieces of erector sets. The wall panels are Lego pieces, though knockoff Legos because they don't have the official Lego logo stamped on the pieces. they're knockoffs. There's also a volume knob, there's a light bulb, there's a paper clip, clothespin you can find in there. It is literally, hey, help me out with this, Lebowski.
A bunch of scraps!
I love how one of the ants is buffing the floor, because when you're sucking shit through a quantum tunnel, the workspace needs to stay clean. Look, my dudes, losing your hair is a bummer. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. We don't want that. We want the hair on our head to never age, like Paul Rudd and his gorgeous mane.
Thanks, dude.
He didn't need the quantum realm to stay young forever. That's what we want for our head hair. Well, with Keeps, it's easier and more affordable to get treatment for your hair loss and help you keep the hair that you already have. Keeps offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there, but at half the cost of your local pharmacy. You don't have to go to a doctor's office. You can do this all from home, where you're probably stuck right now anyway. You meet with a doctor online and they ship the treatment right to your home. Find out why Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors, and nearly 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. So if you're noticing that you're losing your hair, do something about it. For a limited time, just go to keeps.com/newrockstars or click on the link in the description to receive 50% off your first order. Sonny Birch refers to his employers.
My buyers don't take no for an answer, and I have promised results to some dangerous people.
And again, we never get the details about who these buyers are. I have in the past suggested Oscorp, but set photos for the Loki series on Disney Plus have shown Roxxon buses. Maybe the Time Variance Authority plot with Loki will connect to Roxxon's attempts to harness quantum energy for some time meddling related goals. In the fight, Wasp runs across the knife blade, and right away 2 more knives follow right behind it, meaning in normal speed, this thrower must have picked up and flung knife 2 and 3 with lightning speed and bullseye precision. But to account for this, they actually VFX'd the thrower's arm down after his first throw to justify his nearness to the knife for the second throw. And some more great attention to detail here. After bursting through the bag of flour, Hope, shrunken down, skids along that spilled flour on the table. Ghost shows up and successfully phase shifts through most of Wasp's attacks, but she doesn't anticipate Hope weaponizing her wing, so she does take that hit. Kurt brings up the Baba Yaga.
Like a ghost.
Like Baba Yaga.
Oh, you don't find someone like that. They find you.
Like Baba Yaga.
And later in the movie, he calls it back.
Baba Yaga! Baba Yaga, come at night. Little children sleepy tight.
He's of course referring to the boogeyman of Russian folklore, also known as John Wick! They learn how they can track the lab.
The lab emits radiation. Could we modify a quantum spectrometer and track it?
Yes, quantum spectrometers are what Bruce Banner used to track the Tesseract in the first Avengers.
How many spectrometers do you have access to?
How many are there?
Call every lab you know. Tell them to put the spectrometers on the roof and calibrate them for gamma rays.
And they head to the college.
Guys, it's not a good idea to be out in the open like this.
Relax, no one's gonna recognize us.
What, because of hats and sunglasses? It's not a disguise, Hank. We look like ourselves at a baseball game.
Poking a bit of fun at Winter Soldier when world-famous Avengers disguise themselves somehow with baseball hats and glasses. And of course, Bill Foster recognizes Hank immediately in a dark lecture hall. But then again, when Scott helps Hank escape custody, a hat and glasses disguise him pretty well. Marvel Morpheus lectures.
The object in question would be both in and out of phase with multiple parallel realities.
He's referring to Ava's condition, but also giving us a hint at how the quantum realm's time vortexes lead to new branch realities. And on the chalkboard behind him is written the word Matrix. Later on in the school, the chalkboard has words ants grow. Some set dresser on this movie's a real goofball. No, I just got the haircut, let's not pull it all out. Bill Foster tells Scott.
Back in the day, I was Hank's partner on a project called Goliath.
Goliath, of course, is Bill Foster's superhero name in the comics, and Project Goliath was the second MCU SHIELD operation from Tony's line from that Iron Man 2 deleted scene, along with Project Pegasus.
I need some stuff out of storage. Give me everything from Projects Pegasus, Exodus, and Goliath.
Project Pegasus being the Tesseract research, leaving that Project Exodus a mystery that I made videos about. I'm thinking it's Weapon X related. Scott's glitchy resizing in the school has some super inventive VFX work behind it. They constructed 2 different sized backpacks, a normal one that Evangeline Lilly hands down, and a double-sized one for Paul Rudd to catch. And there's very subtle CGI transition in those handoffs where they switched the backpacks. But Rudd distracts from that switch by fumbling awkwardly with the oversized bag. Similarly, outside, they rebuilt those steps to match with the on-location camera movement. But Rudd's childish one step at a time, clinging to that handrail, flapping his other arm around, tripping on the way to the van a little bit. All this behavior keeps the focus on the gag, setting up Hank's punchline.
Hiya, champ. How was school today?
See, all this is a good reminder that the best VFX shots partner technology with actor performance rather than replacing it. In the home of Bill Foster, they find Ghost.
It's okay. It's just the suit.
This big empty suit sets up Scott's misdirection trick on Jimmy Woo later. We find out that Ava's father was Elias Starr, and they gave this guy a shiny bald head, a nod to Elias Starr's identity as the villain Egghead in the Ant-Man comics. So like Hank Pym and Goliath, the MCU is keeping Egghead as part of the older generation of scientists. Scott and Hope discuss Janet in the quantum realm.
What if she's a completely different person?
Indeed, Janet does later tell Hank,
I'm not the same woman I was 30 years ago, Henry.
they don't go too further into it, but quantum energy does seem to have some mutating qualities to it. Luis's ringtone is Morrissey's Every Day is Like Sunday, called back later in Luis's story.
Oh, my abuelita had a jukebox in the restaurant. Yeah, only played Morrissey.
Luis also freaks out about the expensive pastry.
It's all like that fancy raspberry filling represents the company's red, and we're days away from going out of business. Oh!
In the movie's final montage, XCon's new business success is reflected from that pastry box going from the red to blue. Janet inhabits Scott's mind with quantum entanglement.
You have to meet me at these exact coordinates. In the wasteland beyond the quantum void.
Now this gives us some geography for the quantum realm. Like later when Hank Pym goes to rescue her, he's briefly in that dark crystalline space that Scott was trapped in previously, but when Hank goes deeper to burst through that threshold, that's the quantum void, and it's why Scott only ever saw shadows and projections of Janet before, and he never made it into those vibrant planes. Scott chats with Cassie.
So maybe you just need someone watching your back, like a partner.
Wait, who did you think?
Me.
You?
Don't laugh. I'd be a great partner.
Cassie's hinting at her future S stature, which might come sooner now that we have an older Emma Fuhrman playing the character. And also, like many child actors doing these movies, she looked directly into the camera. Ugh, don't look at me. Scott helps Hank escape custody the same way Hank helped him in the previous film, using ants to cover the security camera and sneaking in a suit for them. One of Birch's guys sucks on his necklace, which comes back later when Kurt tases him. The metal in his mouth brings that electric current to his teeth. Ouch. They take back the lab and Ghost confronts them, phasing through the doors, yet one ripple of her pushes open those doors with her hands, even though she doesn't need to. Which is interesting because Ghost's alternate phase shifting states might suggest alternate realities layered on top of each other like this. Now, they all mostly stick to the same track, some are just steps ahead or behind the main one, but considering she never got those quantum healing particles after Scott got trapped in the post-credit scene, I'm curious to learn if Ghost's alternate phases make further varying choices from her, like ghosts of alternate lives on alternate paths than her. I just, hope they didn't forget about her. When Hank shrinks down to the tardigrades level, in his cockpit are a turn coordinator and an artificial horizon, instruments that you would find in a real pilot's cockpit that you probably wouldn't need in a vehicle that shrinks between atoms and everything's getting like disoriented. Also, the panel behind him misspells the label for vehicle. That's what happens when you build all your tech with ants. The others chase each other throughout the hilly streets of San Francisco, including the iconic windy Lombard Street, all this evoking the iconic San Francisco car chase in the movie Bullet. Hoke shrinks a motorcycle and its engine raises its pip. They shrink Stan Lee's car.
Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
And while the last movie gave us a big mouse, this one gives us a big old kitty. Tim Heidecker cameos as the whale-watching tour guide. I love how Scott kicks his legs, keeping them together to look like the fin of a whale. Hank finds Janet in the quantum realm. Notice how she turned one of her wasp wings into a spear-type weapon, and she wears these hooded clothes, which most likely came from that domed city that you can barely make out in the background. A deleted scene further elaborates on Janet's life in this place.
There's so much we didn't know about this place, Henry. Worlds upon worlds, entire civilizations.
And then right after this, they encounter this being.
Passing through, we stake no claim. Go in peace.
Interesting. Now, we did go more into a lot of these bigger secrets of the quantum realm in the last big question, so go check it out. On the TV news of Big Ol' Scott, The Chiron labels him Giant-Man, which is the first on-screen listing of Ant-Man's alternate form from the comics when he's big. Janet returns to the surface and embraces Hope, a similar emotional reunion that Scott will have with his daughter after she grows older in Endgame, after he goes through that time vortex in the post-credit scene that Janet warns him about.
And don't get sucked into a time vortex. We won't be able to save you.
While Ant-Man and the Wasp was a shaggy dog story that Scott Lang Lebowski's through, he witnesses the catharsis of a lost parent reuniting with their child, something he experiences, and helps other Avengers like Tony Stark and Thor feel as they save the universe in Endgame. And it also leaves him with a future partner that he can one day pass the torch to. Join our next MCU Watch Along on Discord by becoming a patron at patreon.com/newrockstars. We have a few more MCU movies left, but we're gonna keep this rewatch series going, starting with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, voted #1 on our channel poll, and we're gonna follow that with some others requested by our subscribers and our patrons, so don't worry. Follow me on Instagram at EA Voss, follow New Rockstars, and I hope I can trust you to subscribe to this channel, because last time I trusted someone, this happened.
Oh, mother fucking!